Hi guys, welcome back to the Driving Test Success YouTube channel. Here at DTS, we want to give you guys as much support on your driving journey as possible. And today we have our help from the young instructor. So today's video, we're going to tell you guys how to pass your driving test in 2022. Before we get into today's video, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to press subscribe so you can stay tuned for more videos. And I'll let Brody introduce himself to you guys.
Hi guys, I'm Brody. I'm a qualified driving instructor based in Northamptonshire, and I'm here with the guys at DTS to help you on your driving journey.
So before we do get started, I feel like we should do a quick fire this or that driving edition so they get to know you a bit more. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Manual or automatic?
Definitely manual.
Road signs or sat nav?
Definitely the sat nav.
Drive through or eat in?
Drive through.
Same. Petrol or diesel?
Got to be the petrol.
And finally, I feel like this says a lot about you, your dream car.
I would love to have a Nissan GTR one day. A little bit pricey, but we can all hope, can't we?
Okay, so I feel like we learned a lot. Are you ready to get into today's video?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So Brody, as a qualified driving instructor, what would you say is your #1 tip you say to students for when they're passing their test?
Well, I'd tell my students to prepare fully. So that might be doing the mock tests, being familiar with the area that they're going to be driving on their actual driving test. And overall, the more driving hours you have behind the car, the better prepared you're going to be for the driving test.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think about mentally preparing? So obviously we've got the practical preparing, it's doing the mock tests, doing the driving lessons, getting the hours in, but what about mentally? Because I feel like that's a big aspect of it.
A lot of people struggle, and I think it's where they build up to be a massive pivotal moment. So just kind of taking that down a little bit, just treat it like a normal driving lesson. Just turn up, go and do your hour's drive. The driving test is actually less than an hour, so before you know it, you're going to be straight back at the test centre. It's going to fly. Just drive as you would usually. I
think if you treat it more like a lesson than a test, it takes the element of pressure away. Obviously you've got someone else there, it's an examiner, so it's a bit different, but I think the main focus is something that I found anyway when I was driving or learning to drive with the test is not to focus so much on driving perfectly and more, because obviously you want to drive well, but it's more about, I'm sure you'll agree, it's more about driving safely, right? Yeah,
safety is the #1 thing. So everyone makes mistakes. I'm sure you'd know this, but even driving instructors make mistakes. There's no perfect driver.
Everyone's human.
Yeah, exactly. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to make no mistakes whatsoever. If you do make a mistake, just move on from it, put it behind you and carry on with the test.
Exactly. As long as you do everything safely. So we were saying before, even if it's a maneuver and you need to adjust it, as long as you do it safely, you do your observations, you won't necessarily fail. Again, with going the wrong way, right?
Yeah, if you go the wrong way, just do it safely. If you find yourself in the wrong lane at a roundabout or traffic lights, just follow the lane off and the examiner will always just reroute you back to where they want you to be going.
You just gotta stay safe, that's the main thing.
Yes.
Okay, so for the actual test, what are some tips that you've picked up along the way as being an instructor that you would give to students or people wanting to pass their test that maybe they don't know of or maybe they're not aware of?
Well, there's some areas in driving that are going to accumulate a lot of minor faults without you realising too much. So for example, a lot of the time when you're driving around, you're always going to be checking your mirrors. So making sure that you're easily able to check each mirror when you need to is going to reduce the amount of minor faults you're going to get. Similar to like blind spot checks when you're parked up at the side of the road, make sure you remember that when you're about to move away so you can avoid those silly little mistakes. Yeah,
again, I think it's just a massive thing on safety. Observations are just like the main thing.
Yes.
Obviously, there's major faults which you would fail for, but in terms of the minor, I think people forget that minors can rack up.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed 15 minors on the driving test, but you know, you get 3 or 4 for the same thing and it racks up. You could easily get up to 15 quite quickly if you wasn't fully switched on your driving test. So just be aware of those little things that aren't necessarily going to cause a massive danger initially, but over time that's going to accumulate and cause a major problem.
So we've got observations, mirror checks, blind checks. Are there any other small things that can rack up on the test?
Yeah, sticking with kind of the mirror signal manoeuvre element, a lot of late signals happen when people are doing their independent driving part of the driving test. So even though you need to be aware of where you're going, you also need to be right on top of where you're going in the car as well, giving everyone around you enough notice, not just so that you know where you're going. Another one, when you're going around corners or bends, just make sure to keep that clutch up. A lot of people, it's their safety barrier, they put the clutch down, but you are going to get a fault for this on the driving test. So just getting a good habit of bringing the clutch up before you turn to have full control of the car.
Again, little things can rack up, but if you kind of avoid those, you can avoid failing for
little tiny things
that you don't want to fail for.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, a lot of people do experience nerves and anxiety when it comes to the driving test. I know I did personally. A tip from me would be deep breathing. Definitely, I'm sure this was the reason I passed my test. It really relaxes your body, and when your body is relaxed, you have more control of the vehicle. Because for example, if you are feeling nervous or anxious, things like your leg or your arm can shake, and obviously you really need those to drive the car. So if you're deep breathing or doing something to relax yourself, if it's meditation, whatever it is you want to do, I feel like you're going to have more control over the car. So that is my #1 tip. Do you have a tip for nerves with a driving test?
Yeah, more nerves and like anxiety. So if you find yourself with a lot of nervous energy, just having some chewing gum with you on the driving test, just to keep your mind off it. You'll do it subconsciously, but at least you're kind of burning some energy without really noticing it too much.
And you can also like pop a window if you want to.
Yeah, fresh air will always help, definitely.
And you can have the radio on low as well, can't you?
You are actually allowed to have the radio on the driving test and on your driving lessons, as long as you ask your instructor or the examiner. They're going to have no problem with it at all.
So anything that makes you feel more comfortable that you can do, I feel like will give you a better chance, and it will make you feel less nervous, as we said, which I think nerves can be, as well as all the other minor faults and stuff we've mentioned and major faults, a lot of those happen because people are nervous. I think so, because I find a lot of people say they failed their driving test because they did something that they've never done ever in a lesson before, and they're like, where did that even come from? But it's just the nerves, isn't it? And it's being in that situation. So anything you can do to calm those nerves, I think, is a major way to pass as well. Yeah, just keeping in control. That's all you can do. So guys, those are our tips for how to pass your driving test in 2022. You can find more tips over on our TikTok channel. And where can they find you? On TikTok at The Young Instructor. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. No worries. Thank you for having me. Thank you. See you guys in the next one.